This presentation is on Joyce Carol Oates. She was born on June 16, 1938 in Lockport, New York, to Frederick and Caroline Oates. She was the eldest of 3 children, and she grew up on a farm where times were tough. She was educated in a one-room schoolhouse where she developed her love for reading and writing. She was later sent to a school in the suburbs and was the first person in her family to graduate from high school. She received her first typewriter at age 14 as a gift from her grandmother, who she was very close to. She received a scholarship to Syracuse University to study English and graduated at the top of her class in 1960. In 1961, she got her master's from the University of Wisconsin and married Raymond Smith. In 1962, she started teaching at the University of Detroit. In 1963, her first collection of short stories was published, and that was called By the North Gate. In 1964, her first novel, With Shuddering Fall, was published. And in 1966, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been, was published. Throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s, Oates has released many works of literature. She received honors and awards for her writing, including the National Book Award, the Pulitzer Prize, O. Henry Award, National Humanities Medal, and the Stone Award for Lifetime Literary Achievement. She's a member of the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation, which awards fellowships for writing. In 2008, her husband Raymond Smith died, and in 2009, she married Charles Gross, a psychology professor at Princeton. She's still alive and currently resides in New Jersey. In the 1960s, American serial killer Charles Howard Schmid Jr. Was killing lots of girls, and he was called the Pied Piper of Tucson. So this inspired Oates' short story, Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? Also, during that time, the second wave of activism of the women's rights movement occurred. In Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act was passed, prohibiting employment discrimination on the basis of sex, race, religion, and national origin. Oates was also influenced by Bob Dylan's song, It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, and you can see many similar phrases between the song and the short story. So in the story, Connie is the main character. She's 15 years old, shallow, very full of herself. She believes she's better than her mom and her sister because she's the pretty one, and she's only interested in boys and going out with her friends. Arnold's friend is the strange, manipulative, and dangerous older man who tries to get Connie to go for a ride with him when her family is gone. Ellie Oscar is Arnold's sidekick who sits in the car and listens to the radio for the majority of the story. June is Connie's sister, who is the complete opposite of her. She's considered boring, quiet, and plain. Connie's mother is constantly criticizing Connie and compares her to June, but Connie still thinks she favors her over her sister for her beauty and popularity. Betty Schultz is Connie's best friend who goes with her to the drive-in theater, which is where she first encounters Arnold's friend. So this story takes place in the summer in the suburbs of an unknown town in the 50s and 60s, which was during the sexual revolution. Connie is introduced as a vain teenager who dislikes her family, so she spends most of her nights walking around the shopping plaza with Betty. One night, the girls go to the drive-in theater across from the shopping plaza, where Connie ends up on a date with a boy named Eddie. Although she doesn't know who he is yet, she sees Arnold's friend for the first time during this date, and he says, "Gonna get you, baby." Connie doesn't think much of this incident until Arnold and Ellie show up at her house on a Sunday afternoon when her family is gone. He asks Connie to go for a ride with him in his gold car, which has his name and many other things written on it. Connie's intrigued by Arnold and likes the way he dresses, but is wary due to the way he's presenting himself and the information he knows. He knows her name and everything about her, even though they've never met. He informs Connie of everything that he knows, including where her family currently is and how long they'll be gone. She realizes that these two men are much older than she is, even though they're claiming that they're no more than 18. She begins to worry about their intentions, but they won't leave, and Arnold keeps insisting that she get in the car with them. He calls Connie his lover and informs her of his sexual interest in her. When Connie threatens to call the police, Arnold says he'll break his promise of staying outside the house and he'll harm her family. He eventually convinces Connie to put the phone down and leave with him. We're not told what happens after Connie gives in and leaves Arnold, but we can speculate. This short story can be seen as a coming-of-age story. Connie is still a teenager and must act youthful at home, but her youth is taken from her when she leaves with Arnold's friend. When she's in public, she shows her more sexual side. The youth in Connie is seen during her interactions with Arnold's friend because she's naive and doesn't realize his malicious intentions until it's too late. We also see the child in Connie when she desperately wants to call her mom for help when she's in danger with Arnold. So Arnold's friend represents the devil in the story. It's ironic that Connie was so narcissistic, yet in the end she sacrificed herself to save her family because she didn't want them to be harmed. Music is a motif in the story. It's emphasized and it's always playing. And music connects teenagers to each other, and Arnold's friend uses this to connect to the young girls he preys on. His car is used as a symbol for his character because it's painted and it's in disguise just like he is. His offering to give Connie a ride represents his desire to gain control over her. This story is a modern version of Death and the Maiden, which is an allegory where a young, beautiful woman is seduced by death, just like Connie, as she mistakes death for romance until it's too late. Connie's house symbolizes the world as she has always known it, and her position in the doorway represents her transition from this world into a wider, darker world. And in the end, her home cannot save her from the threats of the outside world, like Arnold's friend. So some questions. Why do you think Joyce Carol Oates chose to use the name Arnold's friend? What do you think happened to Connie after she left with Arnold's friend? And provide some evidence that makes it seem this way. Does the story relate to anything else we've read in this class so far? And how so? Since it was published in 1966, what steps have been made to improve the social issues surrounding this story? And what purpose do you think Ellie Oscar serves in the story?